5 Steps to Stop Self-Sabotage. Hi, my name is Dr. Meghana Dikshit. I'm the author of the book You Matter and Brain and Performance Expert. If you are new to this channel, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Let's dive straight into the topic 5 Steps to Stop Self-Sabotage. If you are ready to dive deeper, type dive deeper in the chat box and let's begin. The term sabotage means deliberately damage, impair or block something so that it does not work as intended. Now, what does self-sabotage means? Self-sabotage means you yourself want some results in your life, but you yourself do certain things or you don't do certain things that blocks, hampers or stops from you getting that result that you want. Now, let me give an example, okay? Has it ever happened to you that you intend to achieve a certain success in your life and you're well on the way to achieve it, but then you do something stupid and suddenly you're out of that place or you're not able to get into that line? Have you ever found yourself, setting a fantastic goal, well on the way to achieve it, and then you suddenly spectacularly fail at it because you did or said something stupid? Maybe you feel anxious, maybe you feel stressed, and then the anger comes up and you feel trapped in it. And then you start doing or not doing certain things that will actually help you to be more successful. Now, these are all unconscious patterns. Most of us are not aware. But if your life looks something like, it's like a snake and ladder game where you have reached the 99 and it's just the last one action step that will help you to get to that success place. But suddenly a snake comes up in your life and you fall down. Losing an opportunity, self-sabotaging a promotion, or maybe just doing or saying something stupid in front of people can hamper your personal or professional success. Now, has it happened to you before? Have you been through any sort of a self-sabotage like that? Let me know in the chat box, what has been your experience? Is there something that you were manifesting? Is there something that you were working towards? And suddenly you fell sick. Or suddenly a family member needed more help. Or maybe you had to drop out of that goal because something else was important at that time. Do you remember any such incident that may have happened in your life? Let me know in the chat box so that we can start working on it directly. Now, most of our self-sabotaging patterns affect majorly 2 areas of life: relationships and our career. Now, if you're someone who's over-demanding or maybe over-controlling, are you someone who picks fights unnecessarily? Are you someone who gets uncomfortable when everything is going well? Are you someone who has a negative self-talk? You undermine your goals, you undermine yourself. Are you someone who avoids social contacts or maybe, avoid people even if they are around you? Are you someone who's micromanaging or you're a perfectionist? Are you someone who's, going into substance abuse or procrastination? Are you someone who is constantly going into that negative pattern of blaming or shifting blame on other people or giving excuses for your behaviors? Now, any of these symptoms, if they are really chronic and they keep coming up again and again in your relationships or in your career, then you must introspect. Are you set out for a self-sabotage? Now, where do these self-sabotaging patterns come? Are you born with it or you just pick it up on the way? Well, you're not born with it. And because you're not born with it, you can always work on it to come out of it. So let's understand few reasons why you may have developed the pattern of self-sabotage. The first thing that is modeling. Now, as children, we are constantly observing people around us. We role model, especially our parents. Now, if suppose, just giving an example here, if suppose there's a parent, who's scared of success. Success means fear of failure or fear of success or fear of losing your loved ones for a parent. And a child is observing this. Or maybe this parent takes the child to the garden and, playground, and the child is not allowed to sit on the swing because the child may fall down, or maybe, somebody will kidnap, or maybe you have to be very careful in the playground. Maybe don't do this, don't do that. Too many times when the child is asked to not do certain things, subtly the child gets the message that the world is unsafe and I have to be careful. Now, the more it's absolutely right to be careful in one hand, but over careful puts the stress, and it's constantly reminding you that it's not a safe place. And you just simply pick up these patterns where you go into the world, which probably is a safe world, and suddenly you start feeling, I don't recognize this because my world in my mind is unsafe. How can it be so good? So it's too good to be true. There must be something bad. Someone tries to help you in your mind. I can't trust this person. How can somebody be so good? There must be some ulterior motive. Does that ring the bell in your mind? Type modeling in the chat box if you have picked up something from people around you, the adults, the elders in your family. It can be anybody, grandparents, parents, siblings, uncles and aunties and neighbors whom you really interacted with. At a very young age, children pick up these patterns, and out of no fault of theirs, they are just following those patterns. Second reason you may have picked up a pattern of self-sabotage is rejection or neglect. If you had a parent who constantly rejected you and constantly, asked for better things from you or constantly criticized you, there's a possibility that you will develop a self-sabotaging pattern where you feel that you're not worthy enough. Your self-image issues, low self-esteem might cause you thinking that you are the rotten apple here and you are not the right fit here. And this kind of a pattern that you develop at an early age where you will start sabotaging good relationships out of fear of rejection. Before someone rejects me, I'm going to reject. And this is a very common pattern in relationships that I have observed, that people are not able to commit to someone, or everything is going great and suddenly they do or say something stupid, or sometimes they also cheat on their partners because they are into this self-sabotaging patterns where somewhere deep down they don't feel they are worthy enough to have this good people in their life. So if fear of rejection is something that plagues you, type fear of rejection in the chat box. Also, check the video that I have done on fear of rejection if you have this problem, so that you can start working on that fear and start overcoming that fear. Once you start overcoming your fear of rejection, you will see your self-sabotaging tendencies will have reduced considerably. The third reason you may be self-sabotaging is trauma. Any child who is violated by a person when they were younger might get into a space of really feeling that they are not worthy enough and they, people are not safe around them, people are here to take advantage of them. You constantly will start feeling that I'm giving a lot, but I'm not receiving, whether it's your to work, whether it's your to relationship. And that trauma, which is deep-seated inside you, will be constantly triggering the behaviors that will put you back into addressing that trauma. First, remember this, that any of these signs that you have in your space can be taken care with the proper help of a proper therapist, a coach who can guide you to overcome any of this. And if at all you feel that it's something that's bothering you deeper, it can also be taken care and you can actually work on yourself and come out of it. A lot of people get scared when it comes to working on their inner self, and they feel that, why do I need to address something that happened many, many years back? Well, it's like a virus file. A trauma is like a virus file in a computer. Every time you're trying to download a new program, or every time you're trying to open a file, what happens when there is a virus? It buffers, it crashes, the system doesn't work properly. The same thing happens in our life. When we have a traumatic memory buried deep inside our subconscious mind, even though you have probably forgotten it and you don't consciously think about it, but your subconscious mind is reliving that memory every single day when you go to sleep. And it's like a big virus file in your computer. So it's better to look at it and eliminate it by installing that antivirus, of taking help from somebody who's capable to deal with that trauma. So if you're someone who's been through any sort of a trauma in the chat box, and let me know. If you're someone who's falling into this category, let's start working on you by these simple steps. They may be simple, but sometimes they're not easy. So you better get your pen and paper and start writing down these steps. I'm an old school person. I personally feel that when you start writing things on paper, it goes better in your subconscious mind, and it's like a good reminder for you to start working on them. The first step to overcome self-sabotage is becoming more aware of your self-sabotage. Now, how do you become more aware of your self-sabotage? Look into your life, your health, your relationships, your career, money. Is there any goal that you are trying to pursue for a very long time, and for some other reason it's on the hold, or you leave it halfway, or you just reach at the finish line and suddenly you give up for something or the other? Is there something in your life that you are not able to complete because some of the other reasons come up? Now that's your first cue. You also want to look at your behaviors like procrastination, perfectionism. Is there any task that you are putting on hold for a very long time, telling that you have to be good at it and then only you start it? Or maybe is there something that you are constantly delaying, saying, I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't have energy, something else is more important, and blah, 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 blah. Is there something that you're experiencing in your life that people around you, especially in your personal relationships or your career, maybe your boss, is angry or upset with you because you're not, you're committing every time to finish something and you're not able to do it? Are there people in your life, those are nagging you and you feel dissatisfied because of that? Now, these are a lot of questions, but until the self-inquiry happens, you will not be able to be more conscious about your self-sabotaging patterns. See, self-sabotage, as I said, is an unconscious pattern, and your unconscious is pretty much like a dark room. And when you start self-inquiry with these questions, you're suddenly putting a light into that dark room, a bulb on in that dark room where everything starts looking clearer. So you have to start doing this self-inquiry as a first step to overcoming self-sabotage. Step number 2. Understand the underlying emotions behind these actions or behaviors. Let me give an example. Suppose you did not finish a report and it was a deadline and you just didn't bother about it and you kept delaying it, and finally your boss says, why you didn't do it? And you don't have an answer for it and you're feeling embarrassed about it. But when you look for that, report, and when you're thinking of finishing that report, was there an incident that happened with your boss that triggered your anger, or that triggered your anxiety, or that made you feel that, hey, if he doesn't care about me, I don't care about him? It's like you're walking into the corridor and your boss didn't wave at you or didn't say hello to you, and you're feeling that, hey, what is it? Am I insignificant? Most of the times, these kind of behaviors stem from low self-esteem, negative self-image, and feeling insignificant. Now, how would it be that you observe your immediate reaction, the emotional response that you get when something like this happens, maybe a negative experience that you come across or you get through? Maybe your boss was not really blanking you out that time, but maybe your boss was in some deep thoughts and he was busy and he just missed out on connecting with you at that moment. But you took it so much on your heart, you took it as a personal rejection, you got upset, and you just went into the frenzy of having lots of emotions and just delayed that submission of the project. So is there something like that? Like, you have to look into your patterns and you have to look into your emotions that keep coming up again and again and again. Is there something that you are dealing with? Is there something that you feel as a personal attack in your life? Or is there something that happens in your life frequently as an experience that you are dealing with, and every time that happens you feel you get triggered and you get reactive? So what are some of your triggers? Because I have done a video on triggers for teachers, and you will be able to access that to understand what are your triggers and what exactly are these triggers teaching you. So if you have any triggers, write them in the comment section and let me know. Let me see if I can do more specific videos on your specific triggers so that you can go deeper and work on them easily. Now, step number 3 is your emotions are triggered by your thoughts. So you got to identify what is the undercurrent thought that is, or belief that is triggering this particular emotion. What are the beliefs? What are the thoughts? On an average, human being gets more than 60,000 thoughts every single day. And just because you have a thought doesn't mean it's true. So if you have thoughts that are leading to negative self-talk and leading to making you feel even worse about yourself, how about questioning these thoughts? How about asking how often, if I have this thought, if I have this belief about myself that I'm not good enough, or I'm always a failure, I struggle at things, I'm not lucky, blah, 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 blah. Question every such negative belief and ask yourself, show me the facts. In the past, in all these years of my life, how often have I failed at something? Now I can tell you something. We all have the failures in our life, and we all have, maybe out of 10, we may have failed at 2 or 3 things or 4 things or max 5 things. But there's still 5 things that you're successful at. So your mind goes into the focusing on negative bias. And most often when you say I'm a failure, you only look for things that you fail at. That's how your brain works. Your subconscious mind or your reptilian brain follows every conversation that you have with yourself as a command. And it shows you the evidences that the command is given. Because it's a very good servant. So it's going to show you, it's going to follow your command. And if you say I'm a failure, it will say, okay, let me show you more reasons. Let me show you more evidences that you're a failure. So deliberately find evidences where you have not been a failure, if that is your belief. So you understand pretty much what you need to do. You go into the past, you find out every incident where, out of 10, how many times has it actually proven that you're a failure? Or how many times have you been actually rejected? Or how many times have you, not been able to achieve what you wanted to achieve? Things like that. Like, this is a lot of introspection. My suggestion is, doing it alone is not a very easy and not a very healthy thing. Most of the times when you try to do it all alone, it doesn't help you. If you want my help, there are 2 ways I can help you. You can either pick up this book, You Matter. The link is in the comment section, and you can start working with the book. It's a workbook that you can start step by step working on yourself. Or there is a link in the chat box, which is for my introductory masterclass. You can sign up for that. You can come for the introductory masterclass, priced at $999, but just for you, it will be complimentary. And if you like it, if you resonate with it, you can go for the next level advanced program, where we will actually start working on your subconscious mind to release all of these patterns. Now the 4th step. 4th step is to change your personality. Your personality is made up of your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. So once you've identified what are your thoughts and what are your behaviors and what are your emotions that are troubling you and causing self-sabotaging behaviors, you need to identify what behaviors would you be replacing. Let's take an example of the same boss that, if the boss has ignored you in a corridor and you feeling hurt, and in that hurt you got angry, upset, and you came up with a passive aggressive behavior where you did not submit the report on time. And it went into a downward spiral where then, you got an inquiry and you got problem with the boss and blah, 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 all the, jing bang happened. Now you have to ask yourself, if next time this happens, how would I make sure that I do not blow it out of proportion? See, most of your self-sabotaging behaviors are the passive-aggressive behaviors. Just because you can't aggressively tackle the situation, you start behaving in a passive way. You do the snidey remarks, you try to not submit the proposals, whatever it is for you, but you kind of delay the action so that other person gets the message that there is something wrong with you. My suggestion is passive-aggressive behaviors never help as much as the aggressive behaviors don't. So you want to be assertive in your behaviors. You want to be able to call a spade a spade. I know some of the situations it's not possible. But the areas that you can do it, identifying your chronic patterns and, working on them to release them. Maybe starting to do affirmations that can start grounding you, centering you, and start helping you to then identify and start changing your small little behaviors. I want you to take a commitment today, which is that one behavior you would want to change today and continue with this change. Type in the chat box, which is that one behavior. Is it waking up early in the morning? Is it going for the workout every time? Is it finishing your reports or your work on time? What is it for you that you would like to change, that you're not doing, you're not consistent about it? By the way, there's a video done on consistency. You can also check the 7 steps of consistency on the video. And if you're not consistent at doing something, maybe you can test it out if you can work on those 7 steps and get yourself in the order. 5th one. Develop self-supporting behaviors. Now, what are self-supporting behaviors? You know the self-sabotaging behaviors that you have, right? And self-sabotaging behaviors are generally when you are like setting up for something which is good for you. Now, I want you to start developing self-supporting behaviors in terms of understanding what thinking do you need to change? What affirmations can help you? How can you start counteracting with your negative beliefs? How can you start building, at least 3 positive beliefs along with 1 negative belief? Set small goals and consistently work on them to achieve them. With the small little habits, not big ones, very small, very tiny. Look for incremental progress rather than huge progress at a time. So when you start developing self-supporting behaviors, automatically you will start balancing the self-sabotage. However, self-sabotaging patterns can really run deep in us, in our DNA. And sometimes they come from our generational patterns, sometimes they come and they continue to rule our life, and they really sabotage the success and happiness in our life. It's worthy enough if you are having a chronic self-sabotaging pattern. My request and my suggestion is find a good therapist to work with and change your life. Let me see you next video again. If you like the video, give like and share it with at least 10 people. Let's change the world.